Camera's still doing that. Don't know why, but hello there. Welcome to stream freaking finally, because oh, nope. What in the world? Okay, you know what? I don't know if I futz with some sort of setting or what's going on here. Welcome to a very professional stream where we figure out what the fuck is happening. Hi, how's everybody's Tuesday? This is mine. Where, alright, cool. Alright, this is good. This is totally normal. Alright, well. Nope, still not. Alrighty then. Good, so that's not coming up. So that's super fun. Hi, Sean. I don't know what I did to Streamlabs or to OBS to bring down this wrath upon me, but I have apparently anchored something. I don't... This works. This is apparently fine. Probably need to bring this down a little lower, but that's okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're gonna try to... Nope, doesn't work. Right? Nope. And that one doesn't work either. Of course it doesn't. Because of course it doesn't. Cool. Cool. Okay, okay, here's my other guess. Here's my other guess. Okay. Nope, it's not that. Right. Okay, can I... All right, well then, we're just gonna hang on. Real quick, yeah, we're just gonna remove that whole source because I don't know what else to do. There she is. Hi. Good night, Irene. All right, we're just gonna go with that, and we're not gonna worry too much else about it. We're just gonna get started, and I'm gonna troubleshoot that in the morning. Technical difficulties. Yeah, it's... Here's my water. I'm gonna get a big drink of water. You should too. It's good. We're fine. We're good. Fine. Good. Okay. Now we are visibly growling at our equipment. It's good. It's fine. Okay. Got a big ol' list of technical crap to deal with in the morning. All right. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna farm some shit because that was stressful as fuck. Thank you for bearing with me through that. It's just sometimes it's just how the cookie crumbles. Like you're like, I'm totally fine. And you get anemic and not stream for a week, and then it turns out it's not all okay. It turns out it's not all skulls and roses, you know? Oh. Oh, is your Tuesday the Sean? Our Tuesday was pretty chill around here. Just the usual did school. Got in a fight with my kid over breakfast. Normal shit. I don't know why mealtime has suddenly become a point of contention, but it has. And we're just rolling with it. Wow, I did not put away my shit after last game, so this should be real interesting. We're gonna work through this. Alrighty. Okay, Chevre and Brie have no milk right now. Deal, good deal, good deal. Everybody's getting let outside for some zoomies because, you know, happy cow time. How you doing? I wish I knew how to run OBS properly. Other than that, I'm good. Oh, it's been a weird couple of days. I don't know why. Hold up. Not happy with it. She's tweaking. She's futzing. This is better. This is slightly better. I don't know why. It's just felt like a weird couple of days. There's no particular reason for it to be a weird couple of days. It just has been a weird couple of days. How you doing? Oh, okay. All right. That chicken's just gonna be like that today, apparently. Blood duck. Oh. I don't think I pet any of the cows. I shouldn't go back and do that. I was just so frustrated with my pockets being full. I was just like, rah, rah, rah. Pet your own damn selves. I wish I could do the Rachel. I'm doing real good, baby. How you doing? I can't. But it's also been okay. Okay. Pet. Okay, so that, why does that count as petting? Okay, it doesn't. Questions? Concerned ape like yesterday, or humbum. The same people whom, the same person I should say, because this game, this whole ass game is developed by one person. Wow, my dude. Just announced their second ever title, which is going to be called the Haunted Chocolatier. Oh, I'm excited. I am so very excited. That's all I ever need out of life. Yes, I would like to run a haunted. Yes, it's a chocolatier, but it's also something else. What is the other word for it? Which I said, tell them. Let's see here. Dumping the stuff that I dump in here. Okay. No, that has to go in kegs. So we're gonna go tomatoes, blueberries. Not the most profitable of these, but it'll still be better than none. Pickled tomatoes because that just sounds delicious. What else we got here? That's so much garlic. So much garlic to pickle in so little time. Alright, 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 alright. Doing okay. Doing good. Oh, checking mail. Yes. I'd like to give my wife a star fruit for her anniversary. Are you growing any on your farm? Oops. Luckily those don't have a timer, so it's your anniversary. You're gonna have another anniversary next year, right? This is assuming a lot. This is assuming much, to be honest. Oh, that's... Okay. This is where I'm storing my stuff, right? Yeah, okay. Okay. This is where things get weird, because now I have to, like, go and look stuff up. Hang on. I gotta look up. Flex barn. Shoot. Oh, okay. So I have to go in search of rocks today. Or at least. Okay. There we go. Now it's in front of my face and a little harder to ignore. Alright. I should do more grinding off stream of this game because there's a lot of just like, oh no, I have to like spend like 6 days looking for this particular thing and then but I'm too busy preparing for 2.0. Sean. Hi, Strayed. Hi, Sean. Sean. Did you get your copy of Animal Crossing yet? Sean. Speaking of the grind. How has it been a week and it's only Tuesday? How does that even happen? I don't know what's happening. Did I drop frames there for a bit? Have I been not great here for a second? Okay. Anyway. No, ow! I just slipped and kicked a light that's not even on. You got Animal Crossing? Good. And an SD card. That's also very important, I found, with a Switch. Because, like, oh, I'm gonna have to get one for the boys, too, eventually. They just got their Switch lights, but, like, oh. Yeah, what is it? What is this happening for everybody? I would run a Twitter poll. Sip a rosé because apparently we can't talk. This is great. I would run a Twitter poll to find out, like, is this how everybody's fucking week has been? Because this is how my fucking week has been. It corrupted your data? I'm sorry. For 6, okay, I thought it was your Animal Crossing data and I was a little, except was it, wait, hang on, now I'm doubting myself. Did it also take down a VIP's laptop for 6 hours? Or was it just your Animal Crossing data? Because either's pretty bad, but the Animal Crossing data is pretty bad, my dude. Because I don't know if you know, but 2.0 is out in a week. And I'm panicking. There's so much work to be done. Work laptop. Okay. Okay. Yikes. My dude. Also super yikes. Still very yikes. That island you had was really cute, but so I'm glad it wasn't your island, but also that's a big yikes. Your wife has officially corrupted me into convincing me that I should do NFTs, and so I'm probably gonna get a lot of shit on it on Twitter for it, but I'm still gonna do it because people don't get it yet. People aren't gonna get it, and that's okay. There are people. Yeah, weirdly long day. Why has this Tuesday in particular been this long? It just has. The answer is it just has, and that's okay. Yeah. So profanity potions is gonna be a thing, and I'm actually pretty excited about it. Right though? It's gonna be fun. I'm kind of excited about it. I was gonna mess with it. I'm like, have some fun. Maybe making a little ETH, maybe not make a little ETH. I told Joe, and Joe was like, this is awesome! Maybe this is the thing that you find out you were made for, and then I get to be a stay-at-home dad, which is like all of the purest selfish motivations. Because he just wants to be a stay-at-home dad. That's all. It's real cute. But also, my brain is not meant for like super consistent, like traditional work shit. So he feels like he has to do the traditional work shit. But maybe if he could be the super consistent dad, that'd be good. You know? I don't think Pierre's is open. I think I fucked up. We are at the beach. Damn it. Well, guess I'm going to the mines. Hi, Harvey. Does this man understand the irony of that statement? Does he know who he's talking to? I don't know if I can marry the doctor if the doctor's gonna mansplain sunburns to a ginger. There's mansplaining and then there's that. My god, man. Do you know who you're talking to? Jesus. Yeah, I keep seeing, and like, Major League Baseball has just gotten into NFTs. And so, like, maybe I'm too late. Maybe I missed the boat again. Or maybe I'm gonna be the next fucking Pokemon. I don't fucking know. I'm still gonna play. Fuck around, see what happens. No? You gotta go pass out. I feel that. Except also I don't. I had way too much Red Bull, so I have fun sleeping. Good luck, Sean. I don't know what it's been about this last 2 days that have decided to be a whole week. Love you too, Sean. Thanks for coming and hanging out. It's gonna whack some trees and find some racks and everything's gonna be okay. We didn't do it. I just need how many rocks? I just need 50 more. Oh, that's just decorative. Okay, cool. Is this also okay? That's also just decorative. Good. Okay. Do I go diving into the mines at almost 9 o'clock at night? We're gonna get a little crazy. Like, gonna get a little wild. Like, right into the mines. Here we go. Nope. It's so confusing because Animal Crossing, why is pick up, not use tool? I really should reset game bindings probably to be more Animal Crossing friendly. So that switching between them is a lot easier. Oh, secrets. This town is so full of goddamn secrets. Like all small towns are, but like, I guess until you confront them head on, it's always a little bit of a shock. You know, where you're like, God damn, y'all are dirty birdies. What did it? Okay, maybe tomorrow will be rainy and we get to come back here because I'm not gonna mess around out here any longer. I'm not gonna play that game because it's almost 11. I'm gonna run my ass home. Hopefully it rains tomorrow. We can just plant a couple of things real quick and then go back to bed. Ow. Just gonna hit shin on grab, it's fine. Okay. We made it, we're okay. Everything is okay. Yes. Sleep. I wish it worked that way. Alrighty then. So let's see. Only like a few more. Wait, that has to go in the rocks, and these two also have to go in the rocks. Otherwise, I will get super confused. Okay, secret note. That's not the rocks. Here we go. Okay. Oh, actually could do some iron smelting here. Oh, wait, ancient seed? Okay. I just. Ooh. Okay. What does secret note tell us? Nope. Nope, not. There we go. Penny's handwriting. Oh no. I want to get everyone something they love. Mom, parsnip, glazed yams, no beer. That's because Penny's mom is Pam. Big oofs. Jazz, fairy rose plum pudding, Vincent, pink cake, grape, Mr. Mulner, leek fried mushroom, Granny Mulner, beet and tulip. I just found that in the mines. Has Penny been hanging out in the mines? Oh, okay. So it's raining, so... Alright. What the fuck was that? I asked for Ray not to get smite by Thor. Goddamn. Yeah, no, guys. What the fuck? Oh. I'm a little concerned. I'm a lot concerned. Honestly, like a lot concerned. Just woke up the dog. Bad. Cows, be safe. Close the doors. Shit. Don't mind me just risking death to fix a path. It's fine. Chickens. Good chickens. I know. Thor is trying to get us today. No, do not eat. I'm legit scared of the outside now. Oh wait, oh wait, oh wait, oh wait, oh wait. Emotional support chickens, stay safe. Okay, we're good, we're good. The emotional support chickens are okay. Legitimately concerned about it. Thor is trying to kill us. God damn. Okay, we're gonna pickle some cauliflower now. Yes? It's fine, Thor. I'm pickling the cauliflower. I'm not actually eating it. God damn. I don't know if everything's okay outside. Is everything okay outside? Because I legitimately don't know. Like, are things still going kerblam? Should I go to the mine? Would it be worth the risk? If I got in my pockets some pickles? I have pickles. That has to be some sort of Nordic blessing. This is fine, right? This is fine. Everything's fine. The sky is attacking me. Grapes. It's okay, guys. I got grapes. Bears or whatever the fuck. The fuck is this? I don't know. I have it regardless. Why am I getting attacked? Okay, it's done. Are you done going kerblam at me? Weather? Weather's getting sassy in this game all of a sudden. Because that's what I needed. I needed a 4-year-old and a husband and weather in a video game to be sassy at me. Apparently, this is what I needed. Good job. Oh, okay. Suddenly we're at 300. Well, we're gonna clear this level, and then the level below it, and then we're gonna maybe not the level below it. We're still gonna clear this level. Do we clear the next level? How long could it possibly take? Oh no. It's bad. Ow, 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 goddamn. Everything's trying to kill me. Get over here. Cut you. Yeah, the slimes like that. You bitch. And you too. You're also a bitch. Snitches get stitches. Get over here. Cut you. If I cut you, I mean beat you with a pickaxe. Fine, it's good. It's fine. Good, fine. Should not be this loud. My children listen. There we go. Now we got it. Alright, we're leaving now. Except. There we go. We'll get some of this and we'll get some of that and goodbye. God. Wrap me out to the slimes. You bitch. Yeah, beach. Okay. Tamarnes! Actually, no. I got no. I lied to Robbins. Why was I thinking I had to go to Marnie's? It'd be logical, but under the carpenter. Oh, Robin! Deluxe barn. There it is. Build. Huzzah. There it is. Yay! Goodbye. I'm leaving now. Goodbye. I just. There's a lot of money I just dumped into that. Gonna be good. Now we're gonna dump a lot of money into this. Okay. Do that and do this. I think. Okay. I think we're good. I think. I definitely should have gone further into the caves by now, but I haven't. No, we got back to the farm and Thor is still trying to kill us. This is good. Oh shoot, what was I? Alright. Well, I screwed that up royal. It's planted, it is planted, apparently. Oh boy. Oh. All right. Nope. Also nope. Make a lot of mayonnaise, but a lot of money. Listen. Okay. Ooh, ah. Okay. Feeling pretty good about that so far. Gonna just, oh, honey, always good. Hang on, we're checking a couple of things. Sunflower honey, poppy honey. Okay, okay. Do I need to take one of these? I think I need to take one of these. I need to take one of the honeys to Lazy Place things and stuff. Okay. Okay. Okay, so gonna take my character back home, and then I think we're gonna try and do a bio break. So let's go get ourselves saved here for a second. All right. Oof. Okay, so we're gonna go take a quick bio break because we are about an hour or so. What time are we in? Okay, we're not quite an hour in, but we're a little past where I would normally take a break. So we're gonna go take a quick bio break, which means if we're pulling the cart over for one person, we're pulling it over for everybody. So get out, go get some wiggles out, go pee, go get a snack, go get some water, do whatever you need to do. In the meantime, we're gonna be back in about 5 minutes. Chill. Be right back. We're doing some adjustments here, folks. Bear with us. Zoe Fleischer's stream will get off the ground here as soon as she figures out why the fuck her camera is being idiotic. Whoop. There we go. A little better. Tiny bit. Teeny tiny bit. There we go. Just a little better. Here we go. All right. We're just gonna dive back into Stardew. Oh yeah, this camera angle is much better. Okay, gonna have to go harvest those gonna have to go harvest those. Oh, okay, so a lot of my shit was broken last night when just lightning decided to descend from the heavens. This is fine. That's totally fine and normal. And there is Robin. Hello, Robin. Coming and upgrading this ish. This means we can get more different things. Okay. Oh. Nope. Oh, they're all outside and feeling so much better about life. Look at them. Cute. What? Oh, that's not good. Hold up. This is the first issue I have ever had with this controller, and now I'm concerned. That was super duper weird. Never had this problem with that controller before in my life. Yep, the dog just farted. That's about right. Dog farts. He's really cute. He's really good with my kids, but holy buckets. Ooh, coffee beans. Look at her. Look at her. She's gonna have a roaster here in a minute. It'll be great. Ooh, these hops. Ooh. Uh-oh. Gus. Okay, puppy? How cute. If you that's not how this is just gonna work. Cute, but no thank you. Cute other when you fart. No thank you. This is bad because this is a lot of work to be doing. Just on my lonesome, so yikes. Takes until 3 o'clock to water all the crops. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Because I can't, like, I need to off-screen grind for other stuff. Like, for weapons and all of that fun stuff, but like, yikes. That's gonna be a grind. Okay, thank goodness. Okay, can run around real quick and check up on some stuff. Ooh, mushroom. I need to get better at checking this. Ooh, forget so quickly. Looking for things to forage. Nope, nope, nope. Oh, heck. Ooh, we got another artifact. Hi, puppy. Hi. What's up? Oh. Gosh, gosh. What's up, puppy? I know it's late. Of course you know that. Everybody tells you that. That you're a good boy. Getting puppy snugs. You're just gonna have to pardon me. The boy here. What's up? Wrong. Do you need to go potty? Yes, okay. Dog needs to go potty. Hang on, we'll be right back. He had to go outside so bad. Oh, poor doggo. Okay, so way outside. He's a good boy. He definitely farted before he left, though. Oh, buckets. Dog. The only one who has met his match was my brown Newfoundland Maki. Only dog who has met his match on farts. This dog can fart. Holy cow. Send air freshener. Okay. I'm gonna have to let him in here in a second, but I'm also really tired and need to get ready for bed. It's gonna be a bit before I'm back in shape here for streaming. I don't know why the last week took it out of me. I don't know why the last 2 days took it out of me, but I did. Listen. So I'm thinking we're gonna save the game and just chill. And we're gonna end stream here. I know it's a lot earlier than I would normally end stream, especially since I had a little guy who would not go down and go to sleep on time, but I'm also still tired. But tomorrow we're gonna take an iron again and see if that helps matters, do some more vitamin stuff and see if that helps matters. Maybe it's just a couple of vitamin deficiencies that have made me feel a little lethargic. So we're gonna try that and see how we feel. In the meantime, I hope you have a good rest of your evening, and I'm gonna see you tomorrow, 11 p.m. Pacific. Really good day. I'm not rating anybody because I'm too chicken. Good night.